tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, good morning everybody. Okay, we've been studying the Brahmanimantanika Sutta. This is translated as the Discourse on the Invitation of a Brahma. And just to review a little bit, in this sutta, the Buddha travels to one of the Brahma worlds, which is presided over by a Brahma, that's a kind of deity, called Baka Brahma. Baka means the heron or the stork. I don't know why he has this name. But the reason why the Buddha traveled to this world is because he saw that this Brahma had given rise to the wrong view that his world is eternal, permanent, everlasting, that he himself is permanent and everlasting. And he's trying to persuade people to aspire to be reborn in his world so they could be permanently free from birth, old age, and death. And the Buddha, of course, knows that this is a wrong view on the part of this deity. And so the Buddha travels to this world to try to convince him to give up this wrong view. But this Brahma is very proud, and he thinks that he can treat the Buddha as his own devotee or disciple. And he tries to urge him and persuade him to submit to him, to venerate him, and to regard him as the eternal deity. And then even Mara is called the evil one, the one who tries to keep living beings trapped in the cycle of birth and death. He takes over, he possesses one. Excuse me. He takes possession of one of the members of the assembly, and he also tries to persuade the Buddha that he should submit to Brahma and to worship Brahma and to recognize him as permanent and eternal. But then the Buddha tells Brahma that he knows much more than Brahma himself knows. And especially he tries to tell him that his world is not permanent and eternal, but it's impermanent, transient, subject to pass away. And then he tells Brahma that he knows the full extent of his rule, that Brahma rules over the one world system. But the Buddha knows that there are many other world systems outside Brahma's control, and that there are other realms of existence that Brahma doesn't even know about. So the Buddha mentions, he says that previously this Brahma used to dwell in the realm of the gods of screaming radiance. Then he passed away from that realm and he took rebirth in the Brahma world, but this happened such a long time ago that Brahma has completely forgotten about that. And so the Brahma thinks that he has been living there forever and that he'll rule forever. But the Buddha knows that Brahma is just one sentient being who is still trapped in the cycle of birth and death. Then the Buddha says that he also knows realms still higher realms, the realm of refulgent glory, and a still higher realm called the gods of great fruit. So all of this, the Buddha says, I know, but you do not know this, and therefore I know more than you know. Okay, so that takes us up to the point where we left off last week, and in the printed edition, this is page 527, and it's the end of paragraph or section number 10. So now we come to the new material. And now the Buddha is going to go through still other things that he knows. So I'll read, then I'll explain. Okay, so the Buddha now, he's addressing Brahma, Baka the Brahma, he says, having directly known earth as earth, and having directly known that which is not partaken of, and having directly known that which is not partaken of the earthness of earth, I did not claim to be earth, I did not claim to be in earth, I did not claim to be apart from earth, I did not claim earth to be mine, I did not affirm earth. Thus Brahma, in regard to direct knowledge, I do not stand merely at the same level as you. How then could I know less? Rather, I know more than you. Okay, so the key words here first. One key word is the word that's translated as direct knowledge, or directly, having directly known. In Pali, this is abhinyaya. It's based on the verb abhijanati. And from this we get a noun, abhinya. Over time, the word abhinya came to acquire a special meaning, a little bit different from what's intended here. It came to stand for the knowledge of how to exercise the super knowledges or the superpowers, like the psychic powers. So that would be something like the Shentong Chinese. But in the early literature, it doesn't really mean something like the supernormal powers, but it means jnana means knowledge, and abhi, the prefix abhi, indicates superiority. So this is a superior knowledge which directly knows the nature of things. And so this would mean especially knowing things by way of dependent origination, knowing things through the conditionality, knowing the specific characteristics of phenomena, and knowing the universal characteristics, impermanence, suffering, and non-self, and then taking any phenomena, or all phenomena, and placing them within the structure of the Four Noble Truths, particularly knowing all conditioned phenomena as belonging to the truth. Which of the Four Noble Truths? The first. Yeah, the first knowing that they're all included within the five aggregates, and so therefore they're part of the truth of dukkha, or suffering. And so the Buddha says that he is directly known, earth, and then he'll say the same thing with the other three elements, the water element, the fire element, the air element. And notice he says, directly known earth as earth, which means he knows it in its true nature. And he's also known that, this sounds a little obscure, he is directly known that which is not, let me rephrase this, he has directly known that which does not partake of the earthness of earth. I think that sounds bitter. Or that which does not participate in the earthness of earth. The text doesn't specify exactly what that is at this point. A little later, it will do so indirectly. But now comes the important phrase, I did not claim to be earth. I did not claim to be in earth. I did not claim to be apart from earth. I did not claim earth to be mine. Okay, what is the significance of this passage here? Very specific significance. You have to speak a little louder. Selflessness. Yeah, very good, very good. So all of these are different ways in which an ordinary, unenlightened person establishes some relationship between the idea of I or self and the object of experience. And so we have here actually different ways, you could say, of positing a self. The first way is claiming to be earth. If we take earth to represent the form element, what is the familiar way in which this is expressed in the sutta? The suttas.
The body.
Well, body, you can say form, body, earth element, taking them all to be the same. But there's a certain way in which the idea of self is posited in relation to that. What is the familiar formula we have in the sutta? Well, these are the elements, but there's a particular phrase. Yeah, some of you have been through these classes, so you should be able to come up at once. Say it more loudly. Yeah, or it's... Well, that's the negation. But the way it's usually expressed in terms of the wrong view is he regards form as the self.
Or self as in form.
Wait, we're jumping the gun. We're just dealing with the phrase, I did not claim to be earth. So if you say earth is representing the form, aggregate of form, so the way the worldly person thinks, I am form, or he takes form to be the self. But here the Buddha is saying, in a sense, since he thinks, I did not claim to be earth, this expresses the realization, the recognition, form is not self, or he doesn't take form to be the self. Okay, then we have, I did not claim to be in earth. How would that be usually formulated? A little differently, but along the same line in the sutta. Andrea?
Form as in self.
Yeah. Wait. I did not claim to be in earth. No, you fell.
Self is informed.
Okay, what is it?
Self is informed.
Yeah, the worldly person thinks the self is in form, but here the Buddha is rejecting that, so this would be the idea that he doesn't take the self to exist in form. Okay, having directing no form, earth is earth, having directing no that. I did not claim to be earth, I did not claim to be in earth. I did not claim to be apart from earth. What would this represent?
Self is outside of form.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So actually within the four ways in which the idea of self is established, this, we could say, can correspond to two of them. Which two would those be? We've gotten two already. There are usually four. So what are the other two?
Self owns form.
Self.
Self is separate but owns form.
Okay, that's one. So self is what possesses form. And then there's a fourth one.
Form is in the self is the one that's missing. But that is
Yeah. So we could say this one is actually representing two of them. So I did not claim to be apart from earth. So this could be taken to be self is here, form is here, or earth is here. So you could conceive either the self as that which possesses form, or else you could conceive the self to be something which is great and all-encompassing, and then one takes form to be in the self. And so with this statement, the Buddha is implicitly, he's rejecting all four of these ideas of self. And then he adds two other statements. First, the first of these, I did not claim earth to be mine. Actually, this could be the one that corresponds to taking the self to own form, to possess form. So maybe the idea that, or the position, I did not claim to be apart from earth, maybe that could be understood to represent taking the idea that the self is the great, universal, measureless self, and form, and everything else is within the self. And then we say, I did not claim earth to be mine. This we could take to correspond to the position, I did not claim that self is what owns the form. And then he says, I did not affirm earth. I don't know whether this really adds anything new to what has already been said. Just want to see what my notes is. Yeah, this particular passage corresponds to the framework which is used in another sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. Anybody familiar with that sutta? Speak.
The first one.
Yeah, it's the first sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. It's called, what is it called? What is the name? Yeah, the Mula Pariyaya Sutta. So you could just take a look at this, you could just take a quick look at that sutta. It's interesting that I think this is the only place, the only two places in the Nikayas where we find that formulation used. So it's on page 83. So this is the way the uninstructed worldly person thinks. He says the untaught ordinary person who has no regard for the noble ones and so on, perceives earth as earth. Having perceived earth as earth, he conceives himself as earth. He conceives himself in earth. He conceives himself apart from earth. He conceives earth to be mine. Then he delights in earth. And why is that? Because he has not fully understood it, I say. But in the case of the Arahat or a Buddha, if you go to page 87, at the bottom page, section 51, the text says, here there is the bhikkhu who is an Arahat, one who has destroyed all of the asavas, the taints, one who is completely liberated through final knowledge. He directly knows earth as earth. Same thing as in the Brahma Sutta. Having directly known earth as earth, he does not conceive himself as earth. He does not conceive himself in earth. He does not conceive himself apart from earth. He does not conceive earth to be mine. He does not delight in earth. And why is that? Because he has fully understood it. So you see, the two are almost exactly the same. Okay, but now in this sutta, the Buddha is developing this a little bit differently because he's having this kind of competition or contest with Brahma. And so he's saying now, thus Brahma, in regard to direct knowledge, I do not stand merely at the same level as you. How then could I know less than you? Rather, I know more than you. Maybe it sounds a little boastful. Did you go? Yeah. Maybe take the, there's a microphone here.
I think I'm a little bit perplexed that how could the Brahma even have arisen to that level without having had that insight.
How he could have been reborn in the Brahma world?
Yeah.
Yeah, to be reborn in the Brahma world doesn't require deep insight, but it comes through the power of samadhi or jhana. Yeah, this I explained last week, that the different realms of the different divisions of the form realm, this sphere of higher realms of rebirth, it's divided into 4 levels, basically 4 levels, and those 4 levels correspond to the 4 jhanas, 4 stages of deep samadhi. So through the power of the samadhi mind, it creates the kind of affinity with that particular realm of existence. And so if one develops very strong samadhi, but doesn't have sufficient panya or wisdom, then one can be reborn there and still have delusions and wrong views.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically the point so far of this passage is that one who is really seen into the nature of things who has aroused the true insight, the correct wisdom, understands at this point the four elements, or at least starting with the earth element, and breaks the identification with that element as being I or mine, being the self or the possession of a self. Yeah, so I want to say what seems to be the Buddha seems a little bit boastful here, but I don't think that's his intention. But rather, I think his intention is to break this conceit and arrogance of Brahma by showing that there are things that the Brahma himself, though he's so elevated in the scale of living beings, but there are things which he himself has not penetrated because he lacks the wisdom, the insight to understand their true nature. Okay, then the Buddha continues in paragraph starting with section 12. He mentions the other three material elements: water as water, fire as fire, air as air. Then he goes through different classes of beings. Again, this is just like the Mula Pariyaya Sutta, the first sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya. He's directly known beings as beings. This would be living beings below the level of the gods. Then he knows the gods as gods. Pajapati was one of the old Vedic deities. He knows Brahma as Brahma. He knows the gods of streaming radiance, the gods of refulgent glory, the gods of great fruit as the gods of great fruit. He knows the overlord as the overlord. I think this must have been another term from Brahmanism that the Buddha is using. Then the Buddha becomes very comprehensive. He says, I have directly known all as all, everything within the universe. It doesn't mean that he knows all facts, but he knows the nature of everything in the universe. And having directly known that which is not partaken, having directly known that which does not partake of the allness of all, I did not claim to be all, I did not claim to be in all, I did not claim to be apart from all, I did not claim all to be mine. Okay, this comes about because the Buddha is one who has completely obliterated what is called all I-making and mine-making. In Pali we have these terms, ahankara and mamankara. Yes, so ahankara means, aham means I, and kara signifies making. So we can put these two words together and call this I-making, or maybe more freely egotism. The idea that there's some kind of truly existing I, which one then identifies with the things in one's experience, either the four elements, or the five aggregates, or the sense bases. So one takes things to be I, and then the counterpart of that is mamankara. The word mama means mine, and then again kara is making. So mamankara means mind making or possessiveness. But even maybe it's something more subtle than possessiveness, because possessiveness is a rather coarse manifestation of mind making. But the mind making, it's the fundamental idea that things can truly belong to me. And so the aim for Buddhism is to overcome or to eliminate all I-making and all mind-making. And the Buddha and the Arahats, those are the ones who have eliminated all I-making and mind-making. Okay, so now the Buddha has gone through the whole sphere of, first he takes the four elements. The four elements together represent the aggregate of form. But since form is one of the aggregates, we could say that by mentioning the four elements, the Buddha is taking in all of the five aggregates by implication. Then he goes through different types of sentient beings, through all of the level of the deities and gods, and then comprehensively he takes in everything in the universe. And basically he's saying, in regard to everything in the universe, I have eliminated all I-making and mind-making. And then he says, I did not affirm all, or I did not assert all. It's a little obscure, I have to say. In the Mulapariyaya Sutta, it's clearer. Here it said, I did not delight in all. Delight, you could say it's the activity or it's an expression of craving. When we get something we like, then we are always trying to extract enjoyment from it. Anybody have any idea about what does this mean? I did not affirm all. Okay, take the microphone.
Well, delighting in something. This is all about attachment, grasping, upadana, and which leads to making, bahava. That's like affirming. You're making yourself.
Yeah.
That's what that says to me. You're affirming it.
Yeah.
So you're creating bahava, leading to birth over and over.
Yeah.
It's like a little vortex.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, I think you've got it. Anybody else have any ideas? Okay, I don't have any fixed idea that this is right, anything else is wrong.
It's just what occurred to me as we were listening to it.
Okay, let's go on then. I think basically your point is correct, yeah. Okay, now we come to paragraph 24. Now after the Buddha says that, oh, I see what happened. The word is missing in this edition. That's why I was confused by that which is not partaken of. It should be by the earthness of earth. Wow.
I'll say my version is commensurate. I don't know
Yeah, you have an older edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had used that earlier, then some people said we don't even know this word commensurate. Okay, anyway, we come to paragraph 24. Now Brahma says to the Buddha, he says, if that is not partaken of by the allness of all, may it not turn out to be vacuous and empty for you. So this is the way I understand this statement. The Buddha has said that he knows that which is not partaken of by the earthness of earth, by the air, water, fire, and so on. That which is not partaken of by the all. Okay, when Brahma hears this, because he has a limited range of knowledge, so he thinks if there's something that is not partaken of by the allness of all, it must be nothing. Just emptiness, not in this deep spiritual sense, but it must be complete non-existence, nothing there, literally nothing there. So he's saying, may this not turn out to be vacuous and empty for you. But then the Buddha is going to speak about that which is not partaken of by the earthness of earth, by the waterness of water, which is not partaken of by the allness of all. Then he recites just 2 lines of verse. Consciousness, non-manifesting, boundless, luminous, all round. Vijnanam anidasanam anantang sabato babam. And then he says, that is not partaken of by the earthness of earth, that is not partaken of by the waterness of water and so on, that is not partaken of by the allness of all. So he's referring to a particular type of consciousness. It's a vijnanam, that means consciousness, which is called anidasanam. So there's some a few problems in this verse. Like, first, the word anidasana, usually it means invisible. And so this is the way the commentary explains it, that it's consciousness which is invisible. But it seems to me, every kind of consciousness is invisible, no? Can you see, I'm just now in a very ordinary state of consciousness, but can you see my consciousness? You see it walking around? What color is it? What shape? All consciousness is invisible, so there's nothing special in some kind of superior state of consciousness to say that it's invisible. But I found this word anidasana occurs in another sutta, sutta number 21. Yes, on page 221 in the book. And the Buddha is giving here a simile for how somebody with a well-developed mind doesn't become angry when he's provoked by aggressive or harsh speech. And so he speaks about a man comes along with different kinds of paint, and he says, I shall draw pictures, and makes pictures appear on empty space. Then the Buddha asked the monks, could that man draw pictures on empty space? And the monks say, no, Bhante. Why is that? Because empty space is formless and non-manifestative. The word used here, it's anidasana. Same word. So it means that which does not manifest anything concrete.
So it's like a consciousness without selfiness attached to it. You think that's just their poetic way of putting it?
Excuse me?
Do you
think it's just a poetic way of putting it, using the word invisible consciousness, to try to express that it's a non-attached consciousness?
I don't think it's simply a consciousness which is without an ordinary consciousness which is without attachment. This is my interpretation, that this is a special kind of consciousness which is entered into it's the consciousness of a samadhi, which is entered into by the Arahant, by a fully liberated person, in which the Arahant can experience Nibbana directly. Because it's described as boundless and luminous all around, on all sides.
Well, I didn't think it was an ordinary
consciousness. I mean, I can't say that.
But one is able, according to the sutras, the Arahant is able to experience Nibbana in the here and now because of the falling away of attachment, becoming.
Yeah, but in his sort of day-to-day activities, he's not actually experiencing Nibbana, except we could say that the destruction of greed, hatred, delusion is Nibbana. But there is a kind of reality, transcendent reality, which is Nibbana. And in this special samadhi, the Arahant can directly experience that samadhi. This is my understanding. And for references, I base this on a number of suttas that come towards the end of the Anguttara Nikaya, in the Book of Tens, number 6, maybe number 7, and the Book of 11s, a few suttas early in the Book of 11s, where Ananda comes to the Buddha and says, is it possible, Bhante, for a monk to enter a state of samadhi in which, though amidst earth, he is not perceiving earth, he actually goes through the 4 elements, amidst the water, fire, air, amidst the different beings in the different realms. He's not percipient of them, and yet he still perceives. Then the Buddha says that there is such a samadhi, Ananda. And how does one enter it? Here, the monk, let's see how it goes, perceives thus, this is the peaceful, this is the sublime, that is the stilling of all conditioned formations, the sabbasankhara samato sabupati patinisago, the stilling of all conditioned formations, the relinquishment of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, and so on, nibbana. So within this samadhi, one is not perceiving any phenomena of the world, but one is still perceiving something which is nibbana. So that's the way I would understand this. But let's say it's very oblique or just suggestive, this passage. So maybe other people have other interpretations. This is the way I interpret it. Okay, let's just move on because I want to finish the sutta. Okay, now Brahma is going to try to shift. Maybe he feels frustrated here because he's lost this stage of the debate. So now he's going to, in a way, challenge the Buddha to a contest in supernormal powers to see who has more stronger supernormal powers. And so Brahma says to the Buddha, "Good sir, I shall vanish from you." Then Buddha says, "You can vanish from me if you can, Brahma." This is funny. It's a little bit like a television comedy. Then Baka the Brahma saying, "I shall vanish from the recluse Gautama. I shall vanish from the recluse Gautama," was unable to vanish. Okay, but then the Buddha says to the Brahma, he says, "I shall vanish from you." Then the Brahma says, "Vanish from me if you can." Then the Buddha performs a feat of supernormal power such that Brahma and his assembly and the members of the assembly could hear his voice, but they could not see him. But then the Buddha, in a way, to play, maybe to indicate the significance of his attainment, he speaks a verse. The verse is translated, "Having seen the fear in being or in conditioned existence, and having seen that being or existence will cease to be, I did not welcome any kind of being or existence, nor did I cling to delight." In a way, the verse expresses the significance, well, let us say the Buddha's vanishing expresses symbolically the same idea that is expressed conceptually in the verse, that by vanishing, the Buddha shows that he is able to transcend everything within samsara, whereas Brahma can't vanish from the Buddha's sight because Brahma is still within samsara. In this verse, the Buddha says that he's seen the danger in conditioned existence. Brahma still has that attachment to bhava, to conditioned existence. But the Buddha has seen the danger, the drawbacks, the defects in existence, and he's seen that whatever comes into existence will cease to be. In other words, he's seen that everything that arises changes and vanishes. Everything that arises eventually ceases to be. So because of this, the Buddha says, I did not welcome. It's actually the same verb here, abhivadi. The same verb is used in the earlier passage, I did not affirm all. It should have actually been translated the same way. I did not affirm any kind of being or existence, nor did I cling to delight. I would actually say, sort of paraphrase this, I did not cling to anything through delight, by taking delight in it. Because delight is, in a way, the vehicle of clinging. Okay, then when the Buddha utters this verse, then all of the Brahma and all of the members of his assembly say it's wonderful, it's marvelous, how powerful the ascetic Gautama is. We have never seen or heard of any other recluse or Brahmin who is so powerful as the ascetic Gautama. Though living in a generation or population that delights in existence, that takes delight in existence, that rejoices in existence, he has uprooted or extirpated existence together with its root. What is the root? He's uprooted existence together with its root. Yeah, exactly. We could say that delight also, it's an expression of, or manifestation of craving. In fact, actually this is interesting, I just thought of this. In the Mulapariyaya Sutta, the first sutta, there's a passage, let's see what it is. This is page 89, and it's section 171. The Buddha's going through this scheme of the ways that he doesn't conceive himself, so he says, the Tathagata, the accomplished one, the fully enlightened one, directly knows earth as earth. Having directly known earth as earth, he does not conceive himself as earth, in earth, apart from earth. He does not conceive earth to be mine. He does not delight in earth. Why is that? Because he has understood that